What is up, guys? Media Master Menard today, and as you can tell by the title of the video, I'm going to skip right to it. We just watched the season premiere of Game of Thrones Season 8, and man, I was just hyped throughout. I mean, we waited over a year and a half, almost 2 entire years for this moment. And honestly, in my opinion, it was worth the wait. I know a couple people that I texted right after the show were a little disappointed, thought it could have been a little more action-packed, but in my opinion, they can't just start off with a banger. So this type of video I'm going to be doing after every single episode of Season 8 in Game of Thrones, and we're kind of going to be just talking about my initial thoughts and reactions to the episode, as well as kind of my review and overall thoughts on the quality of the episode. So without further ado, let's get into it and analyze, not really too thoroughly, and just kind of get my on the surface level thoughts on the first episode of Season 8 of Game of Thrones. And so obviously this is going to be a lot less formal of a video, so don't mind if I ramble a little bit and kind of lose my train of thought as I'm going, but yeah, that's just a quick little side note there. But this episode was all about reunions and kind of setting up the stage, I guess, for the big battles to come. We all know what's coming. The White Walkers are coming. And I think the name Game of Thrones has never rung more true. Maybe besides Season 2 when everyone is kind of combating for the throne and it's the War of the Five Kings. But right now it is crazy what is going on, guys. All these people in Westeros are kind of fighting over who's going to be the throne holder. I guess, I don't know, that's not the right term, but who's going to have the Iron Throne and who's going to have what title and how the hierarchy and the structure of this world is going to be working out. I think it's quite interesting because a lot of characters are so worried about that they're forgetting about the threat of the White Walkers, and a lot of people bring that up in this episode and kind of talk about that's what should be our main concern. It doesn't matter who's in charge. Jon Snow refers to that when they have a meeting, that it doesn't matter if I'm the king of the North or not. I want to save the North and not just be the king of the North. And so I guess that kind of goes back to the beginning of the episode. We get to see Daenerys and all her armies and forces coming into Winterfell. I thought that was a really, really well done scene, kind of bringing everybody together again, kind of setting the stage perfectly. We get to see Jon go by Arya, come back and reunite with Sansa once again, and he gets to see all the people that he kind of left when he went to go make an alliance with Daenerys. And we get to kind of see the dynamics and how they've shifted since Jon has bent the knee. And a lot of the Northerners aren't very happy about that, and that's really quite obvious throughout this episode. I mean, right off the bat, we see that Sansa almost certainly despises Daenerys. I mean, I think Sophie Turner's acting was incredible in these scenes. I mean, just her subtle facial expressions and how she shows on her face that she's definitely displeased with Daenerys being there and how she's not really too fond of her. I mean, it's very subtle, but it works well, I think. And we also get to see how Daenerys, through, Emilia Clarke's acting, doesn't really give a darn at all. I mean, I think it was funny when they asked her, what do the dragons eat? And Daenerys just says, whatever they please, with a British accent. I don't have a very good British accent, guys, but you get the point. I mean, I thought it was really cool when she did that, and you kind of saw like, oh, the whole room was kind of like, damn, these dragons are serious, guys. So, I mean, I think that was kind of the first dynamic that they showed that was really, really neat. I think another really cool reunion was the one between Jon and Arya. I mean, they were really close to each other growing up. Arya obviously really liked Jon, and seeing them come back together now, and Jon is starting to realize, man, Arya is definitely not the same girl as she was when I last seen her. And I just think, I know Game of Thrones isn't, I guess, supposed to be the happiest of shows, but seeing all these reunions and kind of everything tie together makes it feel like all the slow build-up and really good world development throughout this series has paid off. I mean, if you've been invested from this if you've been invested in this from the beginning, I mean, it's been really, really good to you, and I think these payoffs are good, but they do a better job this season than last, I think, than making sure everything is much more grounded and not everyone is getting too happy of stuff happening to them. I know at the beginning of Season 7, a lot of people were a little bit too happy that things, a little bit displeased that things were going a little too well in Westeros, let's put it that way. We also get taken to King's Landing and get to see Cersei and how she is kind of handling what's going on there. The Golden Company has lost some of their elephants. They don't want to use them because they won't be traveling well over sea. And I think the best part of King's Landing was Euron Greyjoy. I mean, this guy is one crazy MF. This dude is psycho. Like, he is crazy. This man really just doesn't give a darn about anything. And just, I think the actor does such a good job of playing this kind of guy who's riding the edge of insanity and being really smart and clever. And it's still really hard to tell at this point what he wants and what his end game goal is. I know he says his goal is kind of to get with the queen, but I still have a hard time believing that's truly his end goal in all of this. And seeing Cersei kind of react to him and his presence was something I thoroughly enjoyed. I think because we think Cersei is kind of only about Jaime and really not dedicated to him, that's not the proper word, but we think she doesn't really have an interest in Euron and that she's just using him, and to a large degree that is what she is doing. She's just using him, but we also get to see that she understands that he has quite a big fleet of ships and she does need to keep her allies, and that the Golden Company doesn't have maybe as many men as she was hoping for. She has to make sure she keeps her friends who have power close to her. Speaking of the Greyjoys, we get to see Theon and Yara reunited as he comes and rescues her, and I thought it was a really neat kind of reversal of roles from what happened way back when Yara came to rescue Theon and he kind of was still Reek and kind of like didn't want to leave and was too worried. And I liked that reversal of roles, and I liked when she headbutted him and asked him to get back up, and there was a really touching moment where she understood that Theon wanted to go back and be with his family in Winterfell and help fight the threat with them. And I thought that was really cool that as the Queen of the Iron Islands, I guess she's not the Queen of the Iron Islands, but Theon's queen, that she gave him the right to do that. And I really, really like the opportunities they opened up for the future of this show, with Yara going to take back the Iron Islands because they're unmanned essentially at this time, as kind of a fallback plan for if stuff goes bad against the Whites. I really think that's going to come into play later on, guys. I really, really, really am just super excited for kind of the next couple episodes. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, though. Back in Winterfell, things are getting spicy between Jon and Daenerys. They get some more alone time, and there's a lot of foreshadowing to Jon being a Targaryen as the dragons are willing to let him ride. And so Daenerys takes Jon out on a ride, and they kind of have this alone time, and you get to see their romance develop further. And I think it's cringeworthy to us because we know their aunt and nephew, but I think it's, for them, it's a really powerful moment. And then they come back, and Sansa once again has kind of figured out that Jon Snow is in love with Daenerys and questions whether he bent the knee because he loves her or because he thinks she is the best queen. And I think that is really going to be the start of kind of the people playing the Game of Thrones again. It seems Sansa thinks she's probably the best person to rule, and maybe that Jon is kind of letting his vision be clouded by love, and that she's very kind of sharp-witted. We also get to see this earlier on in the episode when she speaks to Tyrion, and she's kind of disgusted with Tyrion that he would trust Cersei, and the fact that Cersei's sending an army, that doesn't sit well with Sansa at all. And she's kind of, like I said, disgusted with Tyrion, and I think to a large degree, I don't think Tyrion really trusts Cersei either. I think because Cersei told him that she's pregnant and has a kid, that Tyrion maybe has a little bit of hope, but I think deep down Tyrion knows that she is not very serious about being allies with either Jon or Daenerys, or anybody for that matter. She really only cares about herself. So Sansa is becoming a very interesting player in this game, and she's kind of ruining things for everybody. Not ruining things, but she's kind of stirring the pot because, you know, she thinks she knows what's best and knows better than everyone else because she's kind of trained by Littlefinger to be a smart, real sly, shrewd player in this Game of Thrones. And I'm really liking where they are taking her role, but it is frustrating at times. You think that they'd be able to cooperate better knowing what threat is facing them. Like I've been saying, this was a huge episode for reunions at Winterfell. Everybody is going back and meeting everybody. I've been kind of explaining that the whole video, but I really think it was a really cool part about this episode. And another couple things that I enjoyed out of these reunions were kind of seeing Arya and the Hound's kind of realizing, man, I've kind of trained her into a killer a little bit. I mean, she's a savage now. I mean, he's a little annoyed that he left her to die, but at the same time, I think he's a little happy inside. You can kind of see a little bit of a smirk there at the end as he walks away from her. And also seeing Arya and Gendry together again, and him kind of foraging and doing his blacksmith things. I thought that was really cool, and their little quips back and forth to each other. So, I mean, everything truly is coming together now. And what really was the most poignant moment of this episode for me was when Daenerys and Jorah confront Samwell Tarly and kind of tell him that thank you so much for saving Jorah's life and curing the grayscale. But then you see the part where she realizes he's from House Tarly and that she's executed both Sam's father and brother, and that was really poignant to see. Even though he hated his dad, it still affected him deeply, and he was truly sad and kind of confused on whether Daenerys is worthy to be king, especially the way that she executed him. And I think it's telling that Daenerys didn't lie to him, but it's also telling that she did lie to Jon, which Sam brings up to Jon when he's actually explaining to Jon that he's the son of Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark, Rhaegar Targaryen, that is. And Jon is kind of in disbelief, and he's like, "No, I'm the son of Ned Stark. He's not lying to me. He didn't lie to me. Are you calling my dad a liar?" And he's like, "Well, this isn't your dad." And I think Jon kind of knows it to be true. He kind of understands that it is true, but he understands how much this complicates everything, making him the rightful heir to the throne. And it would obviously it's incest between him and Daenerys, but even further, she could see him as a threat to the throne and off him. And so I think Jon wants to believe that Daenerys is the best thing for Westeros at this time, but he also knows kind of in the back of his head that maybe he does want to be, maybe he would make a better ruler, I guess. So I think there is some thoughts like that going through Jon's head right now. And I'll be very curious to see how they take that further and what happens when Daenerys herself finds out. So, I mean, there was just a lot of exciting things in this episode to me. And of course, at the end, we got to see Jaime Lannister show up in Winterfell to help out the Northerners, or so we think he's going to help out the Northerners. We don't really know at this point what he's going to do, but I thought it was crazy when he just stares at Bran at the end of the episode and is looking like, this is the same kid I pushed out in the very first episode of the show. So, I mean, it's kind of coming full circle, and you can see Jaime's definitely a changed man. He's not a good, great man. He's not an honorable man by any means, but he definitely is a complicated, deep character that understands that he isn't perfect and has done wrongs in the past and has been sort of trying to make amends to fix things. So, I mean, there's a lot of cool things that can happen in the next episode, guys. I'm just really excited. Obviously, if you guys can't tell. Oh, quick side note, I do want to talk about the scene where Tormund and all of them, Tormund and the gang, I guess, meet up with the Night's Watch and what's left of them, and they're coming back from Castle Black, and they found out that they're kind of caught in between the White Walkers and Winterfell. Or I guess they're caught on the outside. The White Walkers are in between them and Winterfell, so they got to find a way to get back now. So the threat is really coming upon them fast. And if you watch the preview for the next episode, I mean, they are really readying their defenses, getting ready for the Night King to be there. I mean, I'm guessing that the next episode isn't going to have the big battle in it because it's supposed to be only 52 minutes long, but the episodes after that, I mean, they are going to be crazy, guys. I mean, each one of them is like 70, 80, each one's like 80 minutes long. I looked it up. I usually don't look stuff up like that, but I did because I'm just way too excited for this show. I mean, it is going to be crazy, guys. We get to see preparations being made in Winterfell. We get to see a bunch of other cool things going on, but I just am so ready, not for the series to end. I'm so sad for that, but it's just so surreal being in this moment. The final season of Game of Thrones. What is going to happen? Nobody really knows. Who's going to win the Iron Throne? Is the Iron Throne even going to matter in the end? Guys, just let me know what you guys think is going to happen down in the comments below. That's pretty much all of my thoughts for this kind of recap of the first episode of Season 8. I'm really excited to keep bringing you guys more of these recaps and reviews on this channel for every single episode that comes out. Overall, I'm going to say this episode was a really good start to the season. Like I said, even though people are going to complain a little bit that there wasn't much action, especially the way Season 7 ended, it seemed like action was going to start right from the get-go, but I think it was good that they had this episode to set stuff up. It's really going to pay off in the long run, in my opinion, because I was a little worried they were going to run out of time to kind of explain everything and kind of they were going to brush past everything in favor of fighting. It looks like they have no intentions of doing that at all, and I think they have ample time left to do that still. So like I said, I'm super excited. So subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of those videos from me. Also subscribe if you want to see any content based on movies, TVs, video games, and anime. That's kind of what I base this channel around, and other pop culture topics. I'm going to leave a link to my Twitter and Twitch channel in the description below so you can find out when I go live or when I post a video, or if you just want to catch up on my random thoughts throughout the day or throughout media that I consume. And until then, guys, this is Master Menard signing off.
Now look at the top, I'm going crazy, who wearing the crown? Scootly bop, doodly bolly doodly down.